Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel.
We've gathered together to regale you with fascinating intelligence. Again.
Such as, point one, Rachel has a cold.
I have the kind of cold that's living only in the, half a centimeter on the front of my face. Enough to make me sneeze nonstop and have to blow my nose every 30 seconds, but beyond that, nothing.
So just stand by for that.
Yeah, I'm having the Kleenexes functioning as frantic windshield wipers.
And also, the early reports are this cold is making her slap happier than usual, so.
You
are.
The only cold medicine I could find was Alka-Seltzer. Daytime.
Oh.
It said non-drowsy, but the last time I took Alka-Seltzer was when I got up really early because I had a webinar or something and I had a horrible cold. And I took an Alka-Seltzer and then I went to get in the shower hoping it would kind of rev me through. And then it seemed like the next thing I knew, Luke found me asleep halfway on our bed with my head in a towel in my bathrobe. The Alka-Seltzer knocked me out harder than anything, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen today.
I had a real bad encounter with some kind of Tylenol PM that I didn't notice was PM. and it was when I was on a trip with Ben, and I was in the hotel room waiting for him to finish a meeting or something. Then we had to go somewhere, and I was staggering around that hotel room, unable to figure out what my problem was. I was so groggy bad, and I just eventually crashed asleep on the bed, and I couldn't figure out. I was like, Ben, it's something bad. It's bad. Double bad. Then I kind of emerged from it, and then when I went to take more Tylenol, Ben was the one who spotted what my problem was.
There really is no explanation for why I am so tired.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
yep.
I do not like a sleeping.
No, it's real.
A sleeping med, but this was actually specifically a non-drowsy one. I'm just concerned that it might drowsy me, anyways.
So we might have a time today, guys, with Rachel crashing on us.
We might. It might happen.
Yeah.
That might be the way it is.
Anyway, I should just say that I did get through the Reformation banquet, and
survival is key.
I did do the chorizo stuffed pork loin. And we were up way too late stuffing pork loin, and I had to throw away 100 pounds of pork loin. That happened.
I had a bad time thinking I was going to have to be the one to tell Becca that she had to throw away 100 pounds of pork loin.
Rachel didn't need to confront me because I'd already done it. The thing was, my daughter was in the district championship volleyball game, which was down in Lewiston, which is where the Costco is. So in a wild screaming rush, because this was how it was going that week, I zoomed down to Costco, bought 100 pounds of pork loin and a whole bunch of other stuff, threw it all into the back of the car, went to the volleyball game, and then got home kind of late, and I sat there going, I really don't have storage in my fridge for all this cream and all this pork loin, but I looked at the weather, and it was going to be in the 30s all night. It was 30. It didn't get above 36 or something. And so I was like, oh, well, that's fine. I'm going to leave it in the car. No problem. I had to leave early in the morning for something. I ran out, still freezing cold. Then I go, and this is the day before the banquet. I go, I teach, I do all of my teaching, and I just forgot that I had pork loin in the car and cream. But the cream was less of a thing. But anyway, I mean, it was a thing, but it was less of it's easier to replace cream. But I just forgot that I had it in the car, and I was not paying attention to the weather anymore. And I came out from teaching at 1:30, and I suddenly was like, oh, it's balmy, and I have a lot of pork in my car. And it had gotten up to 51.
It was much too warm for too long.
And it had been sitting there since... Well, it had probably warmed up at 9 in the morning, and then it was 1:30, and I was like, oh my land. And so I knew I was just chucking all of it, and I was going to have to get back to Lewiston again to buy another 100 pounds of pork loin. But anyway, I did that because my worst fear really in the world is food poisoning Well, the whole student body, staff, faculty, and board.
That'd be bad. It's one of the things you don't want to do when doing.
No.
I
would
Luke and
rather
I had to take
throw
a
it out.
food safety class once, and there's a lot of interesting information in a food safety class.
There's a lot of stuff to worry about, is what it is.
You often find that people are not abiding by food safety techniques after you take a food safety class. And the most interesting thing, I always think this is kind of shocking, that mayonnaise is totally 100% fine at room temp. Nothing goes wrong with mayonnaise.
But can you
It'll
store
turn
it?
into a mayonnaise eraser before it goes bad. It'll like evaporate enough.
Can you open a jar and then keep it in the cupboard?
Well, if you weren't dipping junk in it, then it would probably be fine. But what
like
makes
that.
mayonnaise like a potato salad is a time bomb waiting to kill people, because the mayonnaise with a potato, which is the starch, all the food for bacteria, is present in a potato salad.
Yeah.
So a potato salad can go wrong quick, as can a fresh salsa. Salsas are a thing that takes people out in Mexico often. When visiting Mexico and you decide
They
to just...
think it's the water, but
they
it's
assume,
the salsa.
but actually it's the salsa that's taking you out. And also the, like a watermelon, a cut watermelon is a real hazard. But that's because when you cut a watermelon, you drag the bacteria from the outside of the rind through a sugary, moist flesh. Which is what bacteria needs to go hog wild, is sugar and moisture, like a happy...
Maybe you could bleach your watermelon before you cut it.
Yeah, I would assume you could still get ambient. You could still pick up ambient bacteria.
Then you could just swipe bleach through your watermelon.
Yeah, if you bleach it, actually, you could bleach off the outside of it, and you'll probably have less problem. But anytime anything that's grown on the ground, is a heavy hazard in that way.
Well, let's be real. What's not grown on the ground, Rach?
Well, fruit is usually in a tree.
I take your point.
It's elevated.
I'm like, hydroponic lettuce? Is that all that's left?
The point is that the bacterias that are present in the soil is real, and but it is interesting, isn't it? It's like there's a lot of stuff that's not at all dangerous until, like, baked goods are just usually not, like, they're fine at room temp for a long time because there's not enough moisture. Like a cookie, nothing goes wrong with a cookie.
I was pondering this in whatever passage of the Old Testament it was, about you have to eat the sacrifice on the second day, but after the third day you can't eat it anymore.
You stop it now.
But I was picturing how in the desert that's some risky behavior. I was like, that's day 2.
I bet those people had some tough stomach situations.
Well, the fact that the human race has survived this far shows us that our immune systems
I was laughing at
that.
I was reading a survival thing that was like all about how to test if something is edible. You know,
eat it and find out.
It was like if you're in the wilderness. No, it actually was interesting because it's like some things you just, if it's milky, if it has like milky stuff, you can't eat that. Don't do anything that's milky. If it's milky, back away slowly. Don't get involved. But then it was like, if you think it might be edible, like crush it up and smell it. If it smells like there's anything too exciting happening, no, stay away from it. Then it was like crush up a piece of it and rub it on the inside of your elbow. Okay. And if there's any reaction, do not eat it. And then it was like, if it passes the interior elbow test, try crushing up a little bit and put it on the outside of your lip. Okay. And if nothing happens after enough time, try licking it. But it keeps progressing very slowly into. It was funny. What book is that? Is it in a John Buchan book where he's stuck on an island, food poisoned for like way too long? He's like,
it's not ringing a bell.
Oh, there's a guy who's like stuck on an island and he keeps eating. He's trying to find, he's like starving. So he's eating like shellfishes of some kind, whatever. But then vomiting wildly because he's poisoned himself. And then after some time, of living this risky life. Like, I feel like 2 or 3 days or something. He sees someone else just strolling, like, he realized he was actually not stuck on an island. Like, you could actually walk. There was, like, a place where it was shallow enough you could actually just walk off of it at low tide. And then he'd been food poisoning himself for days on the island. Regrets.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, guys, now you know, if you're stuck in the wilderness,
Just
Judah,
do the touch it to your lip test.
Judah was just telling me about the survival show that some Idaho guy won.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't watch it, I don't think. He was just recounting what
the story
someone
was
said.
good, yeah.
But it was sort of like everyone else was panicking and eating moss.
We are proud of Idaho. It makes you proud of your homeland when he was like still...
He killed a wolverine, I think.
With an axe. Oh,
yeah.
Killed a wolverine with an axe, but he also had like a whole... He killed a large animal of some kind. Like, I think he had like a whole moose laid up in his freezer, and he was going in for like fish. He was very well supplied.
I know. And then, but Judah concluded it with, but his wife is from Siberia, so.
Well, actually, they met in Siberia. Idaho gets less credit.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. But you know that somebody tried to poison Abraham Lincoln with a tomato?
I thought it was George Washington.
Oh, might have been. I thought
it was a Presidente.
Was it Washington? Yeah, it might have been Washington. Because it's a nightshade. Because it is a poisonous plant.
They thought that it would
And they thought, but then I had heard that they actually had evidence to think that tomatoes were poisonous because all their plates had lead in them. You know, like, and that the acid in tomatoes could draw out the lead, which would mean people could get lead poisoning from...
Okay, weird. Yeah.
So, but, however, they slipped a tomato in on him and nothing happened. Which is kind of funny. And when you think about it, tomatoes definitely look poisonous. Like, we're used to them now, but like a poisonous plant with a big red, full of seeds, like that juicy, slippery seed business. Like, think if you didn't know anything about it.
Like a crafty old woman who's
like if
offering you a red fruit.
If you met that in the wild and it was like bite into it and then suck out all these seedy juices, you would think that's definitely going to kill me. That is not all right. But it still can kill you if you eat it in an ill-prepared salsa.
I do think it's happy news that we live downstream enough in
people have sorted it out for us.
Because you're like, somebody was there just to learn the lessons about mushrooms, but...
And like, there had to have been a lot of trial and error around the mushroom situation.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, because the fact that you have such a swing between varieties, the ones that you may eat and the ones that you may not eat.
Oh, I know, but the experimentation would have been a rough time to be in on.
Who wants to try this next kind of mushroom we found?
I know.
We'll just wait and see if you froth at the mouth and die, and then we won't
there's
eat that one.
Okay, somebody posted a meme that made me laugh. That was like, have we tried exploding all food to see if it makes it better, or did we just stop with corn?
That's a John Gould.
There is a lot.
John Gould has such a funny short story about his long-term concerns with the stories that Indians carried popcorn, that the warriors carried popcorn as a way to like have a meal, but have it be a small thing. It is very funny. He wrote like in the 40s, but the thing that makes it so funny is you never really thought about that. Like, they're like that warriors would carry popcorn seeds, kernels, so that they could eat a meal, but it was like,
Sure.
it was more consolidated.
Yeah.
And then you eat it.
Sort of an MRE.
Yeah, exactly. But he was like, but I can't imagine a time where this is a sensible choice, because he was like, really went on a journey trying to figure this out, because he's like, so you heat up a hot rock, which is what they would all say. Like, you build a fire and you put a rock in it. He's like, and then you put your popcorn on it. He's like, surely any calories that you might get from eating the popcorn, you would lose from leaping about your campfire trying to catch a kernel at a time. And he was just like, it doesn't make sense. He said, on the other hand, we never heard tell of Indians you know, with a tomahawk in one hand and a popcorn popper under the other. Like a whirly pop. He's like, and that also does not make sense. But the conclusion, he came to a conclusion that does make sense. He had the information, which was that it was not popcorn like we have popcorn.
Okay.
It was like the kind of corn situation that people make corn nuts out of. Like
that's a letdown.
it would pop, but not blow out into a huge styrofoam thing. You know, it's like it would just crack. Like it would basically crack the kernels, like cook and crack the kernels, but not make them leap
While we're on the
out.
subject of popcorn, I just made a lot too much of it yesterday because we were doing a party for my mother-in-law who is retiring, and so I was making a bunch of bourbon bacon caramel corn. And I will say that batch that I made was slipshod because I was distracted. And you can't be distracted with caramel. But the principle is very sound. So you fry a bunch of bacon and then you use the grease and butter to make your caramel. And add like some cayenne to it and some bourbon. And then you just make your caramel corn and throw the bacon in with it. It's a big hit with the men, I will say. But I produced a bad grainy caramel because I was wildly trying to make a lot of caramel on my way out to school, and I was trying to get it done real quick, like, so I had heated up the butter and bacon grease. Then I couldn't find the brown sugar.
Yeah.
So I was running around. I knew I had a big thing of brown sugar. Anyway, located it, but by that time the butter and bacon grease was, I think, really hot, and I'm putting in like 8 cups of brown sugar, and so I'm just dumping it in. Oh no, that's what it was. I had used up one bag and then I couldn't find the second, so some of the sugar, without being stirred in yet, a bunch of the sugar was, I think, getting caramel temps while the other stuff hadn't even been percolating into it yet. And then I found anyway, then I kept dropping the thermometer, like completely plunging it into the bottom of the situation. Anyway, it wasn't funny. A good batch, but I'm just saying that in principle, guys, bourbon bacon caramel corn is something that you should consider.
So we're coming into the holidays. We like to do and I have to say, guys, I don't think I told you all this. A long time ago, remember when I was recommending my favorite slippers on this show? I was like, guys, I found a slipper solution. They're called glare-ups. Well, shortly after that, Jake at Canon, who apparently hadn't listened fully to the podcast. I mean, I'm like, Jake, why are you not listening more clearly?
Yeah.
That's a joke.
I
don't expect him to slave over our podcast.
I do. Jake should listen.
Jake, listen. Jake, tune in, Jake. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was Becky. Somebody sent me a screenshot of my book. I think it was Yoo-Hoo, and it said customers who bought this also bought or also looked at, and it was slippers. Oh, I think it was Becky Pliego who sent it. That's it. I showed it to Jake, and he was like, "What the heck is this about?" And I was laughing. I was like, "Look, my book is paired with the slipper brand I recommended." Well, the book Thanksgiving 101 on Amazon right now says customers who bought this also bought, and it's Even Exile. We've paired Becca's book with the cookbook that we recommend.
I actually love that because
I do too. Slippers, Thanksgiving cookbooks.
I feel like if you read Even Exile, I think your next read ought to be Thanksgiving 101.
Yeah, get involved. It's true. Your next step is throw an excellent Thanksgiving for people.
Throw a party, you guys.
So since Thanksgiving is coming, I've said this before, but one tip that I love that we have done the last couple years is just radically overshoot how much food we need. Yeah. And everybody who brings stuff, we get major excessiveness going on the food, so that I buy a bunch of tinfoil pans and Ziplocs, and every person that comes to Thanksgiving goes home with a substantial amount of leftovers. Yeah. And that is because I feel that the leftovers are a good part of the celebratory nature of Thanksgiving. The day after
Thanksgiving, it's important to eat pie for breakfast.
It's important to be able to. Yeah. And the worst of all is the next day leftovers are good, but evening of Thanksgiving,
Yes.
you can't not have any Thanksgiving food in your house.
You need to have it.
Yeah, because
even if it wasn't at your house, you should have stuffing in the fridge.
And that's what happens is that if you go to someone else's house, which in our family, you're always going to be going to someone else's house because...
And it's always, I mean, that's fun because your day of Thanksgiving, you're not doing all the wild prep. You get to just go have a beautiful dinner.
But you probably are making food for Thanksgiving, but it's just a different... But then you go and then you leave with what you came with, which is probably not sufficient.
Probably not.
So
no.
Our approach to this is to everybody brings at least twice the amount of pie that their own family could eat.
Yeah, and this is, we might as well, since we're talking about Thanksgiving 101. And I will also say, look at us being so on it that we're talking about Thanksgiving at the beginning of November.
And not the day after.
Not the day after Thanksgiving.
Aren't you proud of us?
Guys, look.
So, another thing that I do...
Thanksgiving 101, you still have time to order it, you guys. And
it's a great book.
It's super basic. It's like Williams-Sonoma, but it goes through a lot of the classic...
Not Williams-Sonoma.
Yeah, it is.
Rick Rogers, who writes a lot of cookbooks for different people, but I don't think it's a Williams-Sonoma book. You probably bought it there.
Maybe.
They probably sold it there.
I thought it... Okay, never mind.
It's not one of their brand cookbooks,
I thought it said somewhere on the cover, but maybe not. Either way, it's a lot of basic recipes, but with a lot of variations. So a lot of different kinds of stuffing, a lot of different kinds of pie. Anyhow,
last year I made stuffing that I felt that I made a note to myself to do it again. Like where you're like, hang on, that was really good. I should do that. Which was with the homemade sourdough bread. I had cubed. But if I make it soon, which I will do, I'll cube some and put it in the freezer for the stuffing. But the other thing that I do. But just to be clear, we are feeding a lot of people at Thanksgiving, so you may not feel, and then however many people we feel, we're aiming to feed them 2 times at least. Yeah. So we're shooting the moon
a lot of turkey
on food volume. But our local grocery store, Winco, does this thing where it's the season of free turkeys again. Whenever you buy $100 of groceries, you get free turkey. So I put so many turkeys in my freezer because I spent $100 at the grocery store very easily.
Yeah.
So what I do is in advance of Thanksgiving, I use one of those turkeys to make a big thing of turkey stock.
Oh, yeah, I've done that. Well, I've
not that far in advance, but like before you're actually cooking, because the stock will stay in my fridge for a little while.
I've done the stock, but I did it from that cookbook where you start with a turkey neck and a bunch of other things. But doing a turkey carcass would actually just be easier. Yeah,
well, I cut the turkey. What I usually do is cook the turkey, and then I pull the meat off when it is, when that part is cooked. Like pull the meat off and shred it for... And actually, this is a random food tip.
Okay.
Whenever you cook meat in advance, I have a pet peeve with meats in advance.
Okay, I'm ready.
Which is that I don't like leftover meat taste.
Okay.
Like, so if you shred chicken breast.
Oh, sure.
No, if you shred a chicken breast and then you put it in the fridge, it has a different flavor than it had when it was fresh.
Yeah, it's drier though. I mean, I feel like is it flavor? I feel like it's more texture.
I don't know, but I feel like you can taste something that you couldn't taste before. Maybe. So however that is. But if you store it in broth, it does not do that. So if you pack it in a jar or something, so like if I shred a bunch of the meat off of the turkey and I pack it in something and then I ladle broth over it and keep it that way.
That's smart.
So then I have shredded turkey in the fridge in a big vat, which is actually, turns out you can do a lot of things. I feel like we make the weirdest stuff with that kind of stuff. I'm like, how about we have creamed turkey on toast?
Whoa.
Turns out you can do weird things. If you have a big vat of shredded turkey and broth, you're very close to a lot of...
I pulled out of my freezer yesterday or the day before, or maybe it was a week ago now. I can't... It's all a blur, but it's in my fridge, and it's a big Ziploc bag full of meat and a red sauce. And I've got no idea. It's a lot. It's like a gallon of it. And looks like shredded chicken in there, but it's a tomato-based something, and I can't...
Kids make it?
I know. I'm sure I did, and I didn't label it, and I've got no idea.
Was it your freezer?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying your fridge.
I put it in my fridge to thaw out.
How bad is your memory, Becca?
No, I put it to thaw, to find out, and I'm like, I don't. It might be like a chicken tikka. I don't know.
So I want to say something though, because I know that some of you who probably don't like to cook or have not ever cooked consistently enough to find our conversation interesting
Right.
that we're having right now.
Yeah, we are.
We're being boring for you.
Blathering
But
on.
I do want to say something, which is that this is the time of year when I think mothers have, this is like your big season to shine. Like, and this is the season when we can do so much kindness and love towards our families that will last them their whole life. The memories of what it means to be part of a family, what it means to love the Lord, and how that changes things. And you know that this whole season of Thanksgiving through Christmas and New Year's, like this season is like an athletic season for a different kind of sport. It's like you're going to be having lots of practice. You're going to be having lots of, lots and lots of opportunities to make things no fun or lots of fun.
And make it taste good, And
like, smell good and be good.
Yep.
Like, you want it to be where your kids... Like, you have those memories as a child. You know what character you want to be in the formative memories of your children and your grandchildren. And then you have to think about, how do you become that way?
Yeah.
How do you be someone who is so much fun about this kind of thing? So I start right now. I'm buying Christmas gifts. I have started my...
I think
my
this
rules.
Is the time for me to say, bragger, boaster,
He broke the toaster. I actually, you guys know it's our motto. When you feel behind on life, get ahead on Christmas. That's the motto.
That's your motto, and it's
effective. And I wrapped my first gift the other day because I really do believe it.
I wish that I was able to be not so behind on life that I could get ahead on Christmas. But I feel like when I'm behind on life, that's just where I live. So for me though, it's a real comfort. And my tip that I've always said before is like, get a Ziploc bag that you can put stocking stuffers in for each person. That is a good tip.
Label it and put it in a bag. Put it in the top, like our box. Put it in the top of your closet or somewhere. And then every time you see some little thing on clearance or something, put it in there. Another thing I do is whenever I think of something that would be good for someone for Christmas, I put it in my Amazon cart. Mm-hmm. And then I always save it for later. So a lot of the time when I'm feeling like I need to think through, like when I have a moment of like, when I say you feel behind, get ahead on Christmas, I might just go look through my Amazon cart to remind myself.
Only a good tip when you don't have children who also are on Amazon on your same account, because we have a lot of kids who have to order school books and everything, and they're all on our Amazon Prime together, and they'll see everything in the cart if I do it that way.
No, you can't do that. But my point is simply that I find it, like, the more that I get my head into, like, and what are some of the fun surprises that we might do. Yeah. Like, I actually just put laser tag in my cart as a thing to think about as a funny Advent. I was like, that would be hilarious. Like, I know that if we unveiled a laser tag, that would be memorable.
Oh, yeah.
So, there are all these things like that is, like, I try to think of the season and think if we do Advent stuff, just anticipating Christmas, we want that whole season to be really flavored by really God's love for us, that he sent us a son. Like Emmanuel, God with us. Like the fact that this is really good news.
Yep.
We want our kids to think Christmas time is the ultimate holiday.
Exactly.
As far as that. And anyway, so because of that, I think of lots of stuff, and even things, guys, the one that just grates on my nerves, but is a huge thing for the kids, those hideous fuzzy socks that they sell at, like, Old Navy, that look like animals.
Those.
I hate them so bad, but they usually put them on some kind of, like, 90 cents a piece program, at which time I buy everyone a pair, and so our Advent thing will be like a clue that's go look under your pillow, and it's it's a dumb animal.
Okay, I have
sock.
a question. All right, this is a topic we haven't really threshed out on the podcast.
Ready?
How about good ideas for gift giving for your husband? Because that one
that's the one gift that I wrapped. so far was a gift for my husband.
I feel like that one, there's some years where I feel like, okay, I feel really pleased about what I did there. And then other years where I just feel like I'm stalling out. But what are this? Okay, so let's just have a little brainstorm on some good ideas.
So this is actually really quite hard, because the best gifts that I give my husband are almost always too expensive to be the thing that you
recommend.
Well, my husband wears a size 15 shoe, and it's actually very hard. Turns out that's not easy peasy. And the other problem is he was hit by a car when he was 12, which partly broke his growth plate. Broke his whole growth plate, I think, in that leg. So he has one leg that's a little bit shorter. Right. So for his back problems, he needs to have a lift in his shoe.
Yeah.
To make it worth paying for a lift to be put on your shoe, it needs to be a shoe that will last you more than 30 to 40 minutes, which is the average lifespan of Luke's shoes. So it's always a great gift for me to buy him a new pair of Allen Edmonds, like a really nice pair. But the thing is that that's actually a really expensive gift. It's not like a good...
Right.
It's a mashup of gift / need.
Sure. Yeah.
But not really. It's expensive. So what I'm saying is I don't feel... But the one that I got him already was like $20, and I'm quite excited to give it to him. It's one of those Mexican... It's a granite mortar and pestle, like with a 4-cup capacity.
Oh,
for making
big.
Salsa. It's where you make
to
salsa.
Food poison people with.
That's what we try to do at the holidays. Poison people. But he was really enjoying these videos of some Mexican lady who is very rad. She must have it's very rural. It's like a Mexican farm somewhere, and this lady that does like a cooking show. It's not really a cooking show. It must be like a grandchild or a child who just films her making something.
Okay.
But she's very boss, and the kitchen is very boss. It's like a really funny, it's like a little pedestal and our funky stove that's beside her. That's like on top of a wood fire. It's like she has a little wood fire.
Yeah.
But she puts stuff on the grill, like on top of it's like a metal hot top, over the fire.
Yeah.
She puts tomato and garlic and jalapenos and stuff all on it, and it's like they get kind of seared, but then she smashes them up in the mortar and pestle, like on the side of it, to make this salsa sauce. And so that's why I ordered that. Because so Luke has ambitions of being a funny old Mexican lady, grandma. And but it's true, he does. He was tickled, and I don't know how many people she's feeding or what's really going on there, because she pulls when she gets to the part where she needs to do something with a corn tortilla base. She taps into this wad of dough, like the mesa dough, I'm assuming, but it's an enormous... It's like she pulls off a little piece of this huge thing she has on her.
Weird.
I'm like, what are you doing? But she
well, that's amazing.
Yeah, the translation for those, whatever they are, is the little chubbies. She was making the little chubbies of some kind of a thing where you insert something and it's a little chubby.
That's really
anyways,
funny.
All of that.
Mortar and pestle. Okay, so obviously every husband is not going to want the same Christmas gift. But what are
Lammy 2000 was a really rad fountain pen that was...
I just mean kind of genres where people can think, oh, right, my husband is not into writing with fountain pens, but he, what are some sort of categories to think in terms of? There's
What, you must have something in mind.
No, I'm not. I'm just okay.
Comfort, socks, wool socks is a big one. Luke loves those, and it's
those Pendleton wool socks that come in packs of 3.
The national parks, they're not wool.
What?
The national park socks from Pendleton?
I don't know. How is Pendleton making things that aren't wool? I feel like that's a betrayal of everything they stand for.
They do a lot of cotton.
I am very sure these are wool.
They might be, but they do.
Look them up, guys. Pendleton.
Pendleton.
Ben really, really liked those socks because they were super cushy, and they had a lot of flair too. I don't know. I feel like there have been
Did I tell you about that happened last year? I ordered them for the 3-pack of Pendleton.
Yeah.
I ordered them for Nate and Ben.
Yeah.
And then Luke ordered a Pendleton quilt for me. And when that came in the box, he just didn't, we didn't open the box because I suspected it was for me, and I just didn't open the box. So, but we forgot that we got those socks for Nate and Ben. So then we got them something else for Christmas. Then, Christmas morning, I opened the box. They had the 2 packs of those socks in it. And I thought Luke had ordered them for me, because I forgot ordering them for Nate and Ben. And I was like, well, these are really great. Thanks so much. And he was a little surprised that they were in there. And he was like, wondering, like, I wonder why those are in there. And they were just a little too long on my foot. Like, they were super cozy, but they were too long for my foot.
Oh, funny.
And then it was quite some time. I gave them to Titus. It was quite some time before we recognized that actually, no, yeah, look, these. Those kind?
Yeah, are they not wool?
No, they're not wool. Those are cotton, polyester,
oh my
nylon,
word, you guys,
spandex.
they're not wool. I've been deceived.
But they're really nice socks.
They are
Titus
good.
loves them. The ones that we got for Ben and Nate. That now Titus wears them.
But I feel like there have been some years where I found some really fun concert tickets in nearby town, you know, where that was kind of a fun gift that's just sort of different. Or
because my husband likes food related things. He likes cooking more. Well, all the years, throughout the years, I typically have given him some food related gift, like a Belgian waffle maker, like a big professional ding-a-ling waffle maker, or the salsa thing this year.
Although that one, I mean, Ben enjoys doing stuff in the kitchen, but I don't think he's not at the point at which I would buy him a waffle maker.
But I got that in our early marriage, and it was a phase when Luke was into, he enjoyed making the overnight
You got
waffle
a fun painting for Luke.
That's true.
Last year.
I got him a pretty one.
Like, just with a artist locally, bought the painting. True. That's fun.
Oh, and I also got him I got him a leather chair.
It's
like
always
a dad
good
chair.
It's
kind of fun to have a dad chair.
It's true. It's always good to put like a bottle of scotch fills out a stocking nicely.
Yeah, fills up a stocking most of the way, actually. Luke likes moleskins. He uses those a lot. Yeah. So, like a nice pin or a moleskin or...
the Levenger catalog.
That's true. Page points are a nice...
Page points
are nice.
Those little brass, like...
It's like a bookmark, but it points to a particular thing.
But, like, I feel like Levenger has stuff that is good for a stocking.
Yeah, the other one is Saddleback Leather is a hilarious Christian guy who does really nice full-grain leather stuff. I got Luke a great wallet from them, but they have also really pretty... I got him a bag one time, but those are way more expensive. But it is like a lifetime bag. It's like you buy it for once.
You guys...
And then a leather folio, like where you put a legal pad in it, you know? So you have
I've gotten that for Ben too.
They have that, and then like a wallet. But the problem with all those is you buy them once and then you've done it forever. So then you're like, great. Limiting myself.
I feel like the time that I really was pleased with myself it was ages ago. I was pregnant at the time, and I must have been pregnant with Hero because I was pregnant at Christmas. So this is my 4th child. And we were doing a ton of work on our house, and so I bought him a table saw. And now you've just gone into your...
We're good. I'm listening.
Don't
draw everyone's attention to that, Becca.
Anyhow, so I buy him a table saw, but I had to go to Home Depot, which is also in Lewiston, buy the table saw. I think I found it on sale or something. But I couldn't... I mean, it's a table saw. It's in a huge box. So... I got the guys at Home Depot to load it up for me into my car, and then I had to call some NSA guys to come help me get it out of the car because there was nothing I could do about it, you know?
Yeah.
So I rolled out all of the wrapping paper in this huge thing on the floor, and I got the boys to carry it in and plunk it down on top of the wrapping paper so that I could just wrap it in place. And then I pushed it against the wall in the dining room. And then I put a tablecloth on the top of it, and I set a mirror over it, and I put a little, like, potted rosemary, and he never noticed that it was a new installation in the dining room. And for, like, the weeks leading up to Christmas, I was in such a sweat because I was just wondering if he was going to ever notice that we had a strange new buffet. And he didn't. He just completely missed it. And so, I then just wrapped up a little small box and put it under the tree, but it said, like, go look under our new buffet. And he was just, like, so
puzzled.
He was like, what new buffet? Like, what are you talking about? And then eventually he was like, oh, that thing? And he went and lifted up the tablecloth, and there was a wrapped gift beneath it. I just felt real pleased about that one.
That was a success.
It was pretty good, but he was also granted, he was in the middle of finals, giving finals at NSA, and he would come home very, you know, brain dead after giving all those oral finals for hours at a time, and anyhow, but I felt like that was a win, you know.
Well, I think you can win with gifts without spending that much money.
That's the thing. That's what I was feeling like we need. It's easy to buy good gifts if you just
if you're
buy
gonna
all
blow a huge
expensive
wad.
things.
I think so much of it is being excited to give.
Yeah.
Like and like Luke loves and actually all my kids do love when you knit something, and it's like it also builds a lot of anticipation in you sneaking about trying to surprise people with something. It's that's a really fun thing.
Yeah.
So one thing we do with our kids at Christmas time is take them all to not really now because they're getting too old for that, but the little boys will still take to the dollar store to buy all their kids, all their sibling stuff.
It was a sad day when we were too old for this expedition.
Yeah, the little ones will still do it, but go buy something for everyone. And, you know, the funny thing is their big exchange of dollar store gifts was as thrilling as whatever thing we did, which was never... which is really funny that you're something that might have been more thoughtful was not as precious as something that someone was just really stoked to bless you with, you know?
Totally.
But I think the big thing about the holidays, what I was trying to say is there's so much complaining about how much is demanded of mothers, but it is like it's sports season. This is the season where mothers should be training and having games and being selected for the all-star events and going, it is an intense time, but it is so profitable for your family to have it be joyful.
I feel like it is expensive, but it doesn't have to only be financially expensive. It will be expensive with your time and your energy and your focus
and your
love. And the thing is your actual financial resources will be wildly different from situation to situation.
No, it's like this. Your financial resources, or like your house size, or your whatever, is the canvas that God gave you to paint this tribute painting on. But all of us have one. Yep. And we have everybody has a constraint, and everybody has and it is not true that the bigger the canvas, the better the painting. It's not true.
No, it isn't.
And so you think the point is, God's given me this. How can I best glorify Him and bless my family and everything that I do within the constraints God has also given me? And there's a lot for everyone to do, no matter how small.
You might be making your own gifts. You might be shopping at thrift stores. You might be, all kinds of lavish in what you're able to order up with, And
I would say that whatever your budget, whatever your constraints, one thing that I love is actually, as a mother, really pray about, God, help me to bless these people. Help me. And I feel like I want to glorify you by blessing my family with this celebration.
Yep.
And in that, God is so... and then you find something on clearance, and it feels like, of course, it's like this whole celebration of God loves you loving your children.
Yeah.
God loves you trying to honor Him by making this a joyful time. And there's a lot of stuff you can't go say you can't afford to go buy, a bunch of beautiful decorations. But there are tons of very cheerful, fun, joyful things you can do for about 20 cents.
Well, that's like read Edith Schaefer at that point.
Yeah, and I think she does actually talk about using a cardboard box for your side table. Yeah, doing it. And one time I did for one of the things that we did, I bought colored tissue paper, like a big pack of all different colors of tissue paper, and wadded it up into balls over yarn, and it made a long garland of bright colored balls of tissue paper, which is surprisingly festive.
Oh, I'm sure.
Really has the feeling of, wow, we're partying now. Here we are with our colored tissue paper.
But I also think teaching your kids to be generous, as well as you being generous on their behalf.
Because of your father is so generous that we reflect him.
Yeah. So, anyhow, it's don't let your kids grow up to be miserly about things.
There's even some well-known Christmas stories about those characters.
It's be open-handed and teach them to be open-handed.
One thing I did with my kids one time in Advent that was quite fun and random. I just bought some balloons and I think we used printer paper. We made on a piece of cardboard, we made a paper mache snowman through multiple days with balloons underneath it. We coated, we made a large paper mache snowman. Yeah. And it was very thrilling for them. And the total cost is some paper. Yeah. Some flour and 3 balloons. And yet the thrill was large. And I feel like they were all you're saving that forever, aren't you? I'm like, no, this was just a this year treat. We're going to let this snowman go. We're going to set him free. But there are so many things you can do that are really delightful. I think the thing that if you had a happy childhood, I think these things are easier to think of. Yeah. Because you remember things it's a genre of love. Yep. That you have some precedent for. Yeah. Right? So I can remember things when my mom on E Street, which was a tiny house, at the end of the hall in the closet. For some reason, Mom one day put a little, a little pillow and a little table and a lamp in there for me.
Under the bottom shelf.
Under the bottom shelf in the cupboard, in the closet. And boy, was that living. Hit. Get in there.
And it was just Rachel's spot. We weren't really allowed.
You might have just been too big. But I would get in there.
You laid claim
to do who knows what. Because I don't think it was really much to do. But it was the thrill of getting in a little spot that was a spot that was for you, Even
if it was if your family got really thrilled by a food sometime or other, make that. I remember the time we got blown away when we were small by a double crust pizza. And then
Becca, it was a feature at Pizza Hut, and it was called the Priazzo.
And so we were dying to make it at home.
A Priazzo.
We thought it was so amazing, but I remember Mom letting us try to make it at home, and that was such a fun deal.
Yeah, we were
we are
the amazing pizza chefs of the Priazzo pizza. And those are the things, though, that but I was thinking about trying to meet people in little joyful places, small places. I think I've said on here before, I did that once in the sugar bowl that we just made gumdrop snowmen and trees and stuff on popsicle sticks. No, not popsicle. Lollipop sticks. Or a shish kebab skewer. Yeah. Where you can stack green gumdrops to look like a little tree, or you can make a little top hat on a snowman and stick little pieces of licorice and whatever. And then you stick them on skewers and stab them in the sugar bowl, and they look like it's like a winter wonderland scene in the sugar bowl. And you know what? That's not expensive, and it's not. It's easy, and it gives disproportionate sized thrills to the little people in your house.
Exactly.
It is worth a lot more
And
than
big
what
people,
you did.
Big people, there's no doubt it gets spendier.
Okay, but you know the thing about when you're when you are just getting boring when you have a kid. Usually, you just are too used to the world, and then you have a kid, and then all of a sudden you're shocked again about dogs.
Yeah, or you're shocked to remember that people's teeth fall out. You're like, wait,
you're like,
forgot about that.
But I remember it being like you have a baby and all of a sudden they're like pointing out every squirrel on a telephone wire, and you're like, you know what, that actually is really surprising. Like, now that you say it, I'm surprised also. Like, you're like, because all of a sudden your eyes are, you're like, here comes a dog.
Yeah,
you know, you're just in a different world. But what I was going to say is loving on little people with things like that is not just good for the little people. It is really healthy for the grown-ups to rejoice in and celebrate little things that are not significant. Yep. And I think that the Christian temptation, and maybe we're going to run over time never having gotten to a real substantive discussion
not
here.
Really, no.
But the thing that I want to say is I think the temptation for Christians who see the world in all of its lost horror is to think that doing things like sugar, gumdrop snowmen is unchristian.
It's like fiddling while Rome
because
burns.
You're like, don't you know about the massacre of abortion? Don't you know that our country is, and they become actually disciples of the horror of sin, rather than disciples of the gospel joy that is Christ.
That is the answer to it.
Yes, and so instead of, they're always wanting to just talk about the evil, instead of celebrating the gifts that we have in Christ. And I think the problem is, there are the people who are like, how can you justify talking about stockings when there are people starving elsewhere, or when they're, and the reality is, how can you justify only talking about sin and despair when you have Jesus? Like, the thing is,
when we're supposed to be actually a city on a hill that everyone notices,
and that everyone thinks, man, they're having a better time. Not like, look, that's where the shrill person in the neighborhood lives who won't stop casting our sins in our face. That's not what we're looking to be.
No.
And especially mothers who have little children at home, the whole goal is to be growing up people who are so fed by the gospel, so fed by joy, that you're spreading light, not spreading fear of the darkness or anger or whatever. So I think it's time, ladies. We are in the pre-season warm-ups. It is time for us to shake off the sluggishness of whatever season we're coming out of and get ready to really live at a higher level right now.
The pump-up music, people.
Yeah, and really start looking for things that are not expensive but are fun. Like, I don't know, I'm like, this is a time of year where if I pass by a snowflake-shaped noodle, I'd be like, grab that. We gotta start stocking up for the party season. Like, we're gonna need that. It's like it's time to start building up your arsenal of ideas,
of roping your children in so that they become participants in this and not just little greedy recipients.
And because they're participant, part of the thing is that your job here. I was just talking with some friends this morning about going on a long car drive with kids in the car, and I was saying it's not actually your job to entertain them the whole time. It's your job to bring them with you in fellowship and have them grow through things that are not always easy to be a pleasant person. And I was like, sometimes the job is, we're going to teach you how to be the kind of person who remarks on the birds and and looks out the window and is, but it's not a mother's job to make everything crazy entertaining. Like, you're not putting on a show.
Right.
You're bringing people in fellowship on a joyful journey, which is very different than I'm obligated to make everyone happy with my work.
Because that's just going to build resentment every direction.
It will build their resentment because that's not fun. And it will build your resentment because they're not having fun that you're trying to make them have fun.
It will build their resentment because you're never going to be good enough for a bunch of connoisseurs of other people serving them all the time.
And I have to say that as a mother of little kids, you're in a unique position, which is you do need to be doing fun things for them and delightful things for them. And you also need to be ready to discipline them for not being fun
Grateful.
people. Yeah. Like, not just get your own self out of whack about it. But we need to be able to be like,
yeah, totally.
you know how we handle it when people are doing fun things for us? Not this way. you know what your toot is telling me right now is that you need more practice being grateful.
Yep.
Anyways, I'm getting excited for the holiday season.
Yep.
I'm feeling the pregame jitters.
Starting to
woo!
Start to peruse those stuffing recipes, you guys. I always have to do cornbread stuffing because of Grandma Greensides.
Did you know that Grandma Greensides, I called her to get her cornbread stuffing recipe one time and she had no clue. She produced something that had pimentos in it and I was like, that wasn't it.
I don't think she had a recipe.
No, but I made so I always liked the cornbread stuffing, but when I made the sourdough one last year, I used those sour cherries, that dried sour cherries from Costco. And I don't remember if I put a nut in it, but the turkey broth and then that mixed fresh herbs, that they sell around Thanksgiving, they sell the like poultry herbs all together, and I used those, and it was actually quite good. Sausage,
also,
I did sausage.
Coming back to the Thanksgiving 101, it's worth it just for the gravy recipe because it makes a boatload
really
of
good gravy, and that's the
it's
thing
like
you need.
8 cups.
You need to make multiple gravies and put gravy out. We do it in pitchers.
Yeah,
we always have gravy in pitchers.
You want a jug. You don't want
Forget
a little
a gravy boat.
No. You just want a big pitcher full of gravy, and that cookbook has an amazing gravy recipe.
It is really good. It just is reliable. So guys, we blabbed a lot, but I hope you're inspired for the holidays.
Let's get our game faces on.
Let's do it, team. Go fight, win.
All right.
Next
Bye.
time.